Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
Broadcasting live from our Sanctum Sanctorum in Venice, California. I'm Krista, and we are the Sixth Sense Society. Welcome to another episode of the Sixth Sense Society. Today we are continuing All Things Paranormal October, and we have as our guest Holly Lindblom and her son Dylan, and they're going to be talking about their experiences going to haunted locations around the country for many years now. Before we get started, though, Michael has a few announcements.
Hi guys, I'm really happy to have everyone joining us, and thank you guys so much again for your support. Our subscribers keep growing every week, and our views and watch time and everything, and it's just really gratifying that you guys are supporting us the way you are. So we appreciate all of you that listen to us, and we hope we are entertaining you and bringing you many more entertaining shows. And we have some really fantastic guests coming up over the next few months. So well into January, Lon Duquette and Humberto is going to be back, and Jim McGrath is going to be back, and some more ghost hunting stuff, and our friends in Detroit, the Mystic Mitten and the Spirits and Sirens, so all kinds of cool people. And next week, we have Craig Owen, who is author of the book Haunted by History, and it's an absolutely fantastic work, and he has visited a number of haunted places. Not only does he tell the ghost stories, but he gives so much historical background. He's just a fantastic storyteller. So please join us for that, and then wrapping up the month will be our cosmic weather, and we'll be into November. So I'm going to kick it back to Krista, and we are going to get started with the show. So have a good one, guys.
Great, thanks, Michael. So, Holly, we want to know first how you got interested in the paranormal.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Holly from Holly's Haunts. It all started, I think I was around four or five with the Haunted Mansion LP. And I played it over and over and over again. So that's what started this. Mm-hmm. And then it went on to Where's the Haunted Houses Down the Street, horror movies, all that stuff.
So you watched horror movies when you were a little girl?
Since I was, yes.
They didn't scare you?
Yes.
You like to be scared?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah. So it's all started from that.
And so your specialty is that you go to all kinds of historical haunted places around the country and photograph them, right?
Yes.
And one of the questions we had was sort of like what your purpose was in photographing from our Instagram account.
Right.
Why you photograph.
Well, first, because I can. And I can go and drive there, and I can do this, and I can see them, you know. But the second is they're historical landmarks. They're registered. You know, there's such a significance of rich history in every single place. And some are abandoned. Some you can go on tours, and then, you know, you pay your fee. That's what keeps them going for the next generation and the next generation to enjoy these places. So that's what it is. It's basically to see them with my own eyes. A lot of them are in this book. That's what started it for me.
And what is the name of the book?
The actual book that started this, it's called The Haunted Places. So this is like my Bible. This is my Holy Grail. This is what I go. Every single state, I go and I look at what haunted places I can go to, photograph, go in if there's a tour. And a lot of them are tours available to see the old furniture, the history. You can get docents sometimes to talk about haunted stuff. Sometimes. Sometimes they will deny it. Other times they'll be like, oh no, this is where they see her, or this is where the little boy comes out. Stuff like that.
So you also do some of the kind of traditional paranormal investigation too, is that correct?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
And what are some of your favorite places that you've been to?
Definitely the Omen House with the book. Definitely the Omen House. That is very creep factor 10. That was one of the ones in LA that me and Dylan have been to a couple times. The Winchester Mystery House, San Jose, California. They just kind of went I don't know, kind of like with the whole haunted house thing recently. But I went on tours there when they didn't have that. I've toured it alone. Another one is the Bell Witch Cave in Adams, Tennessee. Dylan has also been there. That was a favorite one. That one was really, it's scary, just the history of it. Another one, the Hotel Roosevelt, the Cecil Hotel down in downtown LA. That's a really scary one. There's just some Hollywood in general. Hollywood is haunted. And I think it's because all the stars come here looking for fame. And it's the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. So a lot of these people and entities, they end up staying here. So that's one of them, is just Hollywood in general is what I've always, and they've always gone back to. Hollywood Forever, the cemetery.
So Dylan, did you get interested because your mom is interested?
Well, do you know my life?
Yeah, I'm sure you actually have with your mother. And have you had some experiences that really stand out for you?
Like by myself, like no, not really. But like I was at the Omen house, and I caught like an orb in the earth room. I was by myself in the dark, and I was just filming around. And then I look after, and I look at the footage. Bam! There's an orb right there. And I go and I bring it to your friend Jeff. And he's like, "Yep, you look at it. That's an orb." Because of how I was moving, you know.
Right. Yeah, they don't move in a regular way. They kind of look like they're going somewhere. You can't say that's the dust particle.
No.
It's quite different. So I wanted to ask you, I was very intrigued by the whole, the Bell Witch. I had never heard of that. Of course, I'm sort of new to a lot of the haunted locations.
Welcome.
So, yeah, so tell me a little about the story of that.
So John Bell had the farm out there. And, I mean, there's just so many different stories on it. But the Bell Witch did torture this family in Adams, Tennessee. There was even the presidents have talked about, they have a tour there that you can go in and see the farm. There's a movie about it. There's all these things about it. But they're saying that's like the only case where the Bell Witch actually killed somebody. She came back and tortured the family to the point that he died. So that's a very scary story because there's so much about it. It's so documented.
Right.
And then I have pictures up on my Instagram of the grave they found of the young Indian there. And when you go into the back of the cave, there's there's a picture of Dylan taking a picture of it. You can see a witch's face in the rocks, right, Dylan? And he took pictures of it. So that is really creepy stuff right there. And there are people that won't even step on that property because of it, because of the Bell Witch.
There was also her intention, the Bell Witch, was also to break off an engagement, I think, of the daughter of John, and she succeeded in that.
Yes, she did.
And the only thing I quickly read was evidently whoever the Bell Witch was said there was a reason why she went after him, but never said what it was.
No,
so that's
said
kind
what
of
it was.
That's a mystery. Really.
Hollywood has their take on it. I don't want to believe the Hollywood take on it, but I don't know. We just went to it twice, and I've driven by it a lot of times. But we went into the cave, and it was amazing. Go if you ever over there, check it out. It is a lot of history. It's really neat.
It's neat that it's a cave too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's unusual, I would say.
And they take you all the way in the back, and you are literally in this walkway where you're having to duck around these rocks, right, Dylan?
All the stalagmite everywhere.
All the slime,
it's
and
amazing.
Then it is amazing.
Now, before I forget, there was a couple questions from our Instagram.
Right.
One was from Humberto, who has been on the show.
Oh, cool.
And he
Hi,
said
Humberto.
he's curious of what precautions are taken to ensure that ghosts or other entities don't attach themselves to you or other investigators you work with.
I mean, besides a little bit of prayer, I'm going in. And we took my grandmother's blessed rosary. But other than that, we're skeptics. We're going in, we're going to check it out, we're going to see what happens. And like I told you earlier, I just pretty much say, don't follow me. You're not welcome. Things have happened afterwards at the house that we'll tell them, you're not welcome here. You have to leave. Other than that, I haven't had anything really, per se, bad happen. It's been all in good faith in that we're just going to go in here, we're just going to photograph. We're not trying to do an exorcism. We're not trying to do anything like that. We're just trying to take a picture, get some evidence, and get out. We're just here to observe and leave. Yeah.
So by photographing, if you go on to your Instagram or hashtag Holly's Haunts,
Yeah.
you'll see the buildings, just regular pictures too of
Yeah.
the beautiful buildings that
Yeah.
you've been to, and it's amazing how many you've been to. How many have you actually gone to? Do you think?
Over 100.
Wow.
Easily.
Wow.
Easily through my whole life. Yeah.
So when was the first one? When did you start? Like how many years ago did you start doing this?
As a child and a teenager, I would convince my friends to go up into the Hollywood Hills. We would go to different cemeteries, different things like that.
That was a real passion of yours.
Yeah, it's my hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone in your family, like your mother or grandmother, were they interested in ghosts? Or did they tell ghost stories?
No.
Or?
Actually, though, my neighbor who helped raise me, they were from a pueblo down in their family, and then moved to Arizona, and he started telling me stories about Mrs. Isabel. That was her name, this famous ghost story. And he's seen her, and I never got tired of these stories. Tell me the ghost story again. Tell me again. He's the one that would let me play the Haunted Mansion record over and over and over again. So, yeah. That's where it started. Not my actual family, but people, caretakers of mine as young, yeah.
I was thinking about recently how there's such interest in small paranormal investigators throughout the country. And I feel like it's an extension of ghost stories.
Yes.
That we want to be in the ghost story.
Yes.
And that you, when you go to do it, you actually kind of are, you know,
Right.
because I think
You're part of it.
It is really fun, you know. It's more fun to do it than even watch it, I think.
Yeah,
And
it
again,
is.
and I have to admit.
I agree.
So what do you think,
Yeah.
Dylan?
I like it. I think it's fun going to all these locations and stuff, and seeing how all the stuff went down, because it's all history. You know, history is very fascinating.
And that is a really important point.
Yes.
You do learn all these really cool stories, and they preserve them in every
Yes.
city and village. They all have their unique takes on stories. Some of them are tragic. Some of
Yes.
them aren't always tragic, but of course the tragic ones have the most.
They stick.
They stick. And maybe they're haunted for a reason.
That's what I think,
Yeah,
too.
the pain of it, you know. And because there's definitely, if you read ghost stories, there are friendly ghosts that
Yeah.
appear and help people in their
Right.
stories, but the ones that people go to are
The
usually
majority are tragedies.
are tragedies.
Yes. Yes, they are.
So have you ever had anything kind of humorous happen at any of the locations as far as interaction with the spirits or even something funny about the place?
Nothing ever like funny, just the way that it happens, it just, you're not expecting it, and it just takes over. And we were in the McRaven tour house in Mississippi in Vicksburg, and they've come out on taps, all those things, right? Well, we walked in, and there's 3 Point. I have pictures of that on my site, but 3 times the ghost of Mary moved what was like a cupboard. She moved it, and you know, I witnessed it with my own eyes. We all tried to debunk it at the time. Nothing. It happened again. That was very different for me to actually see that. I seen a Civil War soldier in Kentucky, and my boyfriend's son had seen the same thing a week and a half later, and we didn't tell him. And he's seen the exact same haunting, you know, type of soldier. So yeah, it's never planned. It's always just, wow, right there in your face. Like, here it is. And I never believe it when it happens. I'm always like, whoa, did that really happen? You know, so that's a skeptic in me.
Yeah, I think that's true whenever it's like the ego fights anything that's paranormal and you go, did that really happen to me? And that's why sometimes I feel it's good to record everything as soon as you can in case there's some little nuance that you forget, you know. But I think that's a very common... Yeah, I know it is for me too. When Michael told you at the beginning that I saw this ghost at the lodge, and the only reason I saw it though was because I didn't think it was a ghost because it had a big event.
Yeah.
And they'd left the door and we were leaving. I said, "Oh, Michael, someone's still in there," you know. And I saw someone kind of look out. And when I think about it, he could have gotten out. You can get out the door when it's locked, but you can't come in. But I just thought somehow he was stuck in there.
Right.
And just looked like a person.
Yeah.
And then Michael said, "There's no one there."
Right.
And then I was like, "Oh, otherwise I don't think I would have just discounted it."
Exactly.
Think, you know, because like you were saying, it just kind of comes over you. You don't.
Yeah, I
expect
showed you
it.
the video of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I went to Old Bryce, looked it up. We were down there. Just went 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, I didn't want to get in trouble. You get real good at trespassing with this stuff, right? You know what I mean? I do. I trespass. Sorry. And you know, the ghost, after I posted it online, all my friends started noticing it. And we're like, did you catch that? Did you see that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really did catch a ghost. And it was there. But in front of me, it wasn't.
Right.
But I seen it afterwards on camera. And that wasn't with any ghost hunting tools. That was with my little Samsung phone. You know, I don't have anything fancy. We just go in and check it out.
So do you also count and experience like your feelings, you know, how in a moment, like if they change suddenly, do you feel like you have
Yes.
that kind of mediumship ability too?
No, not like that. It just happens. I am in no way psychic or medium. I do feel things. I do get the chills. Just normal things. Like almost like a horror movie. Like, ooh, what was that? We've experienced, you know, wind or cold spots or stuff. But no, it just happens so fast. Like we talk about. We don't, when you're in the moment, it's like, did that really happen? Yeah.
So in a way, you're talking about the physical phenomena that we all can experience.
Exactly.
Which I have recently, and then Jeff was talking on the show last time, Jeff Mendel, the difference between real voices
Yeah.
and voices that interject onto the tape.
Right.
And how, and so we had our experience of hearing real voices.
Yeah.
And everyone heard them.
Right.
That was what was so unique about it, was we all heard them.
Yeah.
So that's a very important point, I think, because I think that, and maybe people have some psychic abilities too, but the
I
fact
think
that
everyone
you can,
does.
that you can
You
still
know.
experience these things and not be a full-fledged medium in a sense.
Nothing like that. I'm just interested in the history. I'm very interested in the architecture of these places. I did architectural blueprinting for a job for a little bit when they were in school, and I had to do all these prints of these old homes that I used to take, and I used to put it through a CAD machine and make it for these architects. So that's what got me more into it too, is the whole architecture of how beautiful these homes are.
Yeah, I love that one. It was the Haunted Pink Palace.
Wow, that's
That
in
picture.
Louisville, Kentucky, and Avery is the ghost that haunts there, and he appears whenever there is a tragedy about to happen. Like there's a story where he busted into somebody in a bathtub while there was a robbery was going to take place. They've also seen him in the front lawn. Yeah, that place was really spooky. That was my first real hit, shared a lot, that place. But that's in James Court, I believe the name of it, and there's a lot of old houses right there that are haunted.
I noticed you did seem to, maybe it's just I know you're putting some of your pictures up still. You have so
Yeah,
many, but
I
there's a
am.
lot from the South.
Yes.
So do you have some thoughts about, the South and the hauntings of the South
Yes.
that you can share with us?
I believe that because the older the properties and the older the places, the more that is taking place there. That's what I think it is. And I think that, just some of the horrible things that have happened there. Mm-hmm. That's why. Like the ghost of Chloe the slave at St. Francisville at the Myrtles, because of the tragedy of what happened to her. She poisoned the judge's cake and killed his children and the wife, and they hung her up. And she is seen on that property. So a lot of those things is what happened, that's what keeps bringing them back.
So why did she poison the judge? What was
Well, what
happening to her?
happened was in the story, in the book, it says that, she was in the house and she got caught eavesdropping. And the judge had taken off her ear.
Oh.
Yeah. And she wore a turban. And a lot of people leave earrings for her and stuff. A lot of people, she'll take your earrings and stuff. But to get back into the house, because it's very cruel,
Right.
to be out in the fields and stuff.
Yeah.
She wanted to bake a cake, make them sick, and nurse them back to health. Well, she killed them.
Oh.
And they see the judge's children, the wife, and Chloe still there on the property. Wow. And I have that picture up. I just put that one up last night, but I'm in like a nice little dress, to kind of look
Right.
the part. Yeah. Yeah.
What time of, when did that happen? When was the period? 1800s? 1700s?
Yes, must have been. Early 1800s, yeah.
Now, there is one I noticed, too, that, now, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's the Spadina house in Beverly Hills. I've never heard of that, and I live here.
You haven't? Okay, so that's right down the street from the Virginia Hill house where Bugsy Siegel was killed.
Oh.
Literally right down the street. So that's got its own tragical history, but that's on the corner. Anybody can go there. That's on Walden Drive in Beverly Hills. And
Right.
Dylan has been there so many times, and so has my daughter. They've always gone to the witch's house.
Right.
Hansel and Gretel. That's from a movie studio, I think, in Culver City, that they moved there.
Is it haunted or is it just a cool house?
It's just a cool house. It's just amazing that it's there and the people live there, and they've been in all kinds of articles, and you can look up the Spadina house for sure. That's just a really neat place.
Did you like going to that?
Yeah, it's a cool looking house.
Yeah.
I enjoy looking at it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they really are beautiful. It is a mix of the architect and I think I never thought about it. I really don't like it when they take down historic buildings in LA. They've had some, and now you're also taking away sort of the paranormal history.
You are.
And that makes sense. The more stable a place is, the more likely the spirits settle in, just like people do.
Yeah.
You know, they want to stay where they're familiar.
They also say that how, when you start remodeling, you dredge up the ghosts. So sometimes you can upset them also. If you tear down these stuffs, you're not going to tear away the history. You can take it away, but sometimes it'll be there. My mama Cindy, who I talk to all the time, she tells me that wood is really absorbs the energy. Wood. And that when you have wood homes like the Bell Witch Farm, that is one of the things that absorbed all of that. So, there's all those takes on it. Yeah.
I wonder if it's connected to the whole Druid tradition of trees and spirits.
I would imagine.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right? It all ties in, so, and also a lot of these places, like the Phillips Mansion in Pomona, they hand built those bricks. They put that all in there. Their whole family lived and died there. No wonder why it's haunted. They were attached to that place, so they still see him once in a while. So that's another one. Yeah.
So do you have any plans now where you're going next?
I think we're going to check out the Enchanted Forest, the Haunted Forest up in Altadena. I want to take the kids there. My daughter's into it. She's not here today. She's in high school. Dylan's with us today. We're going to do that. I'm going to take them to the Winchester Mystery House. I took Dylan when he was in utero. That doesn't count. He's never seen it. So, Winchester Mystery House, again, they've got a new interactive type of thing. I just want to check it out, see how it is. But I want to take them there. Lots of places. I've still never been to Alcatraz.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to Alcatraz.
Right.
There are places on my list that I still haven't seen yet. So, yeah, this is a never-ending thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's never ending. It is so amazing to go to all these places and see all these things and then just take my children. It's a history lesson. It's not, so-and-so goes. It's also like, this was built then, this was here, this was the first lighting. The gas lamps were used in this house. This was here. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So I'm writing the book, which will be coming out probably next year. There's so much more to do. Holly's Haunts. And that's where I'm taking it. Yeah.
So would you consider also going to other countries at some point?
I want to go to the Tower of London. I want to go where the princes were killed by their uncle. I want to see where Anne Boleyn was beheaded. Yes, I want to go to London. I want to see Paris. There's a couple things, but the Tower of London. I want to go there. That to me is huge. Yeah, eventually, yes, I will.
And you can see the ravens there too.
I know.
Meet the Raven Master.
The Raven Master. Yeah, there's what is it? 7 of them that are there at all times.
I think so. He's got a book out that's really good too.
Yeah,
it's excellent. He has
definitely
the coolest job ever.
I'm obsessed with ravens too. Yeah, but they are there at the Tower of London, and they keep the ghost away. So yeah, I want to go there. That's the next one.
Do you have any places you would like to go, Dylan?
Probably visit some ancient civilizations down in Southern America, probably.
Oh yeah, that would be really awesome. Do you watch Ancient Aliens?
Do I? No, I what they have to say is just BS.
Can't argue with some of it. I like it because of the buildings and architecture of the show.
Yeah, I like that.
That's part I really love.
I do too.
And I get a kick out of Giorgio for some reason.
Right.
So, but yeah, some of it's pretty far fetched.
Yeah.
So, like, what else would we like to talk about today? Maybe some of your thoughts about what do you think about the afterlife? Do you have any thoughts or opinions?
Yes.
Have they been shaped by your experiences?
Okay, well, I was raised in Christian school. I went to Whittier Christian for 4.5 years and went to public school. So that was a big Baptist upbringing with my grandparents, right? So I was raised on, fire and brimstone. If you do this, you're going to hell type of thing, right? So I want to believe in my heart that you just don't die. you go on, you're an energy. Something is there. It's not just we close our eyes and it's dark forever. You know, so that's why I am into it too. I want to believe that it's not over. And I don't want to think that, you know, I mean, the tragedies, of course, they stick. That's residual, you know. But other things like when your parents go on and they can come back and visit you once in a while, or you can, they see you in your dreams. People say that dream scopes and stuff like that, they come and they visit you. So yeah, I want to believe that there is an afterlife by doing all this.
You have an interesting story to share about the clock you brought.
Let's talk about the haunted clock.
Yes.
So my grandfather died a couple years ago. This is the clock. And what had happened was my mother died at 42. Grandma died 5 years ago. Grandpa followed 2 years after. We took care of Grandpa to the very end. And this was my mother's clock, okay? So this was in a cabinet in my old house. And 8 hours, exactly 8 hours after he died, that clock started going off and it started ringing and it would not stop. And we got it out of the cabinet and actually I had to manually turn it off. There are no batteries in it. It's off. It just was going off. So we think that it was my mom's way of saying he made it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is the haunted clock. We talk about it. Everybody that's been involved in the story talks about it. So yeah. It's just one of those things. How can you explain that?
Yeah.
I can't explain it,
Yeah, I think a lot of people have stories when people die, if you go around and sort of talk to them and their families, and especially if they, don't want to talk to because they were told that this is not a good thing because of my religion or whatever. And
right.
And it is, I'm sure there's a lot more like that would be fun to document too. Just specific little things like that.
I think people are scared to talk about it. Yeah. I think that people don't want to talk about it for us to seem crazy. When you have witnesses to things like this, you're seeing it, it's happening, it's real, take it in. My grandfather came through at the Omen house also during a seance there. And me and Dylan were not in the seance circle. We were sitting completely back.
The sidelines.
We were on the sidelines. We were just watching this. And my grandfather came in and was laughing at us. Right? Mm-hmm. And he was messing with the candles and everything, and it was real. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I wasn't scared, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was just, it happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
Just wanted to jump in for a second, guys. We have actually one of Holly's friends doing some ghost hunting in the lodge, and we were poking around, all three of us, or four of us, before the show. And one of the interesting things that happened, we were in the lodge room, and we were talking about Masonic trials. And on the app that we were using, the word hearing came up. Of course, hearing is another word for trial. And then we changed the subject. We were talking about how the members had built the lodge by hand, and the word nail came up. And I thought, that's just, how can you explain that kind of synchronicity? And in just real time, just instantly. And so it was really pretty cool.
It was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what is cool about the ghost apps is the synchronicity of the conversation and the specificness. I think that is where you can kind of, say, well, there is something here, and it's not just random words kind of being looped around. At least that's what I have felt so far, too.
I have, too. And then we just put that one on right now before we came in here, and that's been saying all kinds of interesting stuff. It's saying night right now. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, and there are definitely places where the words don't come up at all.
Yeah.
So to me, if it was just automatic, you would have some kind of consistency. Like everywhere you go, you'd get 3 words, you know. And we had that experience when we were here last time with Jeff going around. And I have to say, I used to maybe not give as much credence to some of the tools, watching them on shows. Right. But when you start using them yourself, it's a little different, I think. And you see the synchronicities with it. It's a very hands-on kind of thing. I think everyone should do at least one ghost hunt.
You should. You should experience it. It's fun. 'Tis the season. It's October, Yeah,
this is a time where a lot of paranormal investigators are busy on shows and doing things because it's, it's connected to October for sure.
True. Yes.
So where do you see as far as your, the vision? You're going to write a book. You're writing a book. And are you planning on doing more with Holly's Haunts? Are you going to do tours, for instance, or?
I could. I have. I actually have tours. I actually have taken people out to all these haunted places. Close friends of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been to so many locations
Yeah.
and you have so many experiences, and it's always nice to have a guide.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's someone that really knows whether it's you're just going for a vacation somewhere or you're going to a haunted location.
Yeah.
Do you think it seems to me like it's on the rise a little in terms of people wanting to go to haunted locations and actually stay in a room or for their vacation? Is that true? Do you think?
Yeah. Stranger Things. Thank you, Stranger Things. Thank you, Winona. Right? Because, I mean, I got to say, it sparked the interest.
Oh.
I noticed that.
I didn't know. I watched that show after it had been out. So, I really liked it.
I really liked it, too. So, I think that whole thing ties into it, too. People are interested in it. They're wanting to know stuff. And I don't know. I think it comes through in waves. Sometimes with different kinds of things, you know what I mean? So right now, like, we're in our game of ghosts, which is cool, Yeah.
So we were also talking, there's a lot of places I want to go to in LA, and I had heard about Janis Joplin's room, but you actually stayed there. So
I've stayed there.
Tell us a little bit about what you experienced then when you were there.
Well, I had gone up to Yamashiro. That is my favorite restaurant in Los Angeles. It's also haunted. So right below it is the landmark, Highland Gardens, okay? That's where Janis Joplin died at 27 years old from an overdose. They had said that weekend there was a lot of bad dope out there on the streets, and she passed away in the room. And I went there on my birthday and just happened to get her room. And I was sitting on the bed and I heard something sit down next to me. And, that noise, it was real. It really kind of tripped me out at first, but I stayed up all night in there, walking around, having beers, playing her music, smoking cigarettes at the table, watching, and there's a presence there. There is something there. We got to go. I want to go. I want to go back. That was my one time. I want to go back and experience it and write some of my book in that room too. Mm-hmm. Has a whole little kitchenette. It's $300 and something a night. Mm-hmm. It's really nice, really taken care of. Right next door is where Jim Morrison had stayed. So, but that was her home here in LA with Big Brother and the holding company. And she was there. It's haunted. There's so much stuff in the closet dedicated to her. Even a Ouija board where they held a seance and all these things. It's really, really neat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess a lot of these places, too, they keep people's name alive, too, because then people want to know more about who she is if they don't know that much.
That's right.
And she was such an amazing musician, unbelievable.
Artist, yes, completely. Her voice, they don't make them like that no more, do they?
There's a few coming along, but hardly no. What I really like, I was watching one of a video of her in concert.
Okay.
And she was dancing with people on the stage. Yeah. You could actually go on the stage and dance with her then. This would never happen.
No, not now. Security.
Security, which is understandable, but I thought, wow, that was a different time, the 60s and rock in that time.
Yeah.
So, she's pretty cool.
Have you ever seen the footage of her at the Monterey Pop Festival where Mama Cass is in the audience and blown away by her?
No,
you got to look that up on YouTube. I mean, Mama Cass is like, whoa, like, wow, like just taken away with her talent and how she was, and she was taken too young, and a lot of them are, and they're not loved. They get caught up in the drugs and the scenes of Hollywood, and it takes them. And they get taken with it. So that's why some of these things, they're there still.
And you guys out there, too, you've heard of the 27 Club. And
yes.
If you go online and you research and look that up, the number of people that have passed away tragically at the age of 27, it's pretty remarkable.
Yes, it is.
It's an odd age astrologically because it's right before the Saturn return.
Okay.
So maybe in a way, the Saturn return is when Saturn returns natally into your chart, the same position. It's around 28 and a half or so. So some people say that's the first time where you can really kind of grow up in some ways. So maybe in some ways that they are prevented from fully growing up. And even though technically you are in your 20s, maybe you're not totally yet. You're still finding yourself. And
right.
It is I don't know, it is an odd age, 27 to me.
Yeah.
And Michael's right. There's a lot of
really a lot of them
amazing musicians.
Jim, Janis, Jimmy,
Stevie Ray, right?
I don't know about Stevie Ray, but I know Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, one of the Beach Boys, right? One of him too. There's a lot that are in that club.
James Dean, I think, was part of that club.
I think James Dean was
Yeah.
23, though. I
Was
think
he
he
younger?
was a lot younger. He didn't make it quite there. But a lot of the musicians died at 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do a whole tour of musicians
Yeah.
that have died in certain places or
Yeah, that's true. I
That
feel
would
I feel
be-
sorry for them. I've always wanted to go to where Jim Morrison is laid to rest in the cemetery out there. And I don't want to biff up the name. I'm not going to say it. I don't speak French. But that place right there is like where Oscar Wilde is and all of them, you know. And that's a really neat cemetery too out there. I'd like to visit.
There's definitely something really cool about visiting the place where people are buried. So, for instance, I remember reading Emily Dickinson, of course, who's not well known.
I know who she is.
Was not well known in her life.
Right.
People go and leave poems at her grave, and
Yeah.
how sweet is that?
It's awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
and giving tribute to whatever, you know. It's that alone is its own, I guess, folk art, and
agree.
you know, like
Yeah.
Marie Laveau. Evidently, there's a lot left at her grave.
Yeah, and everybody writes the 3 X's and makes a wish at Marie Laveau's grave. Yeah, I didn't get to do that cemetery. It was in the middle of July. It was very hot. If anyone sees, I am a ginger. The tour guide told me that it would be way too hot for me, and there is no coverage out there. And all I had was a umbrella, and I didn't want to go and stand in it. So, you know, but I will be back for that. But Marie Laveau is huge down there. I went into the whole voodoo thing down in New Orleans.
I read a biography about her. I forget the name of the person. It was fantastic.
Really?
Because, well, it showed the influence she had as a black woman in a time where most people didn't. And she had this, I know she had this relationship, a positive relationship with the priest in town. But you have these huge gatherings that she would dance, and she had a lot of
By
power.
Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah.
That gives me chills. Like, she would really put it on and do her little sacrifices and all her stuff. And you know, when she passed, they say that her daughter just kept living as her. You've heard that too, right?
But also, isn't there a mystery about what happened when she died?
Yes. There's so much behind all this folklore, and that's what's so neat about these stories is we keep telling them. You know, back in the day, they didn't have Google. They had books, and they had your uncle telling you there's a ghost down the street, or you know what I mean. So Marie Laveau and all those stories down in New Orleans, they're real. They come to life. You go down there, you feel a sense of, you know, the whole vampire thing down there with Anne Rice and her home and all those things too is down in New Orleans.
Didn't she kind of renounce that, though? She became like...
She became a Christian, and now she's living in Coachella Valley. Yeah, she is. And she lives with, you know, her dogs and stuff. So. But there was a time she was coming to book events coming out of coffins. So
she came out of coffins?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
my
videos
gosh.
of her on YouTube where they actually carry her out of the car in coffins, and she pooks up, and she's amazing.
Wow.
She's amazing.
I've got, I come from Nova Scotia, as you guys know, on the East Coast, and it's an old part of the world, as we all know. And there was this incredible woman named Dr. Helen Creighton. She was a social anthropologist. She got interested in a lot of folklore, and the story was that she was a war bride. She was living in London. She was from England. She married a Canadian during the war, and he worked in London, was part of the military. And so what happened was it was during the Blitz, and she suddenly freaked out, and she had this vision of her husband, you know, being killed, and she phoned up in a panic, and she was so upset that he left work and he went home. And no sooner did he walk in the door than the phone rang, and they wanted to know where he was because a bomb had struck the building, and the building had been destroyed. And so she became very fascinated in all sorts of phenomena and psychic stuff and ghosts. And so she traveled around Nova Scotia talking to all these old people, collecting their ghost stories. And she published a couple books. One is called Blue Nose Ghosts, and one is Blue Nose Magic. And she doesn't make commentary on what she believes. She just tells the story the way that they were told to her. But the interesting thing, she says that a number of the people, she had to coax them to tell the story, that they were still so upset or anxious about it, they didn't even like to talk about it. And it took her quite a while to pry the story out of them. And then she also mentions that several of the people were people like ministers and stuff who really wouldn't have made things up. You know, they wouldn't have lied about it. So if you guys want to read some really cool books on ghosts, as I said, Blue Nose Ghosts. And Blue Nose Magic has some ghost stuff in it, but it's also got things like folk remedies and cures and superstitious stuff and things of that nature. But there's just some absolutely incredible ghost stories in the books, and I'm sure you can still get them on Amazon.
Well, it's interesting. There are different views about invoking ghosts. So, for instance, I practice Tara as a Buddhist practice, and I noticed when I took the green Tara initiation, there's this whole thing about preventing ghostly interference, which I'd never really seen before, noticed before in Tibetan Buddhism. And then the one I do every day is a red Tara puja, and it also has like this prayer against being interfered by ghosts.
Okay.
So not everybody wants to invite the ghost in terms of their belief systems,
Right.
probably because they are concerned about them like doing some trickster stuff, if nothing else. Not always, because they're afraid they're going to get hurt, but that they can stir things up or cause problems. And so it depends on kind of your background and your cultural beliefs and things like that. But Humberto, that's one thing you can do is the Tara mantra. She evidently protects you pretty much against everything. She's kind of like the Mary of
I need
Buddhism.
to look into her.
You'll love her. She's awesome.
Okay.
I really like her a lot. Anybody can say her mantra. You don't have to be a Buddhist, or that's what I like about her.
I will definitely look that up because we do go into heavy places, and I do take my children, and we do, and I've asked them, they haven't been affected in any way by anything, right? I mean, you've never had anything happen at home, right? Besides your trickster sister. Other than that, but she's into all the horror stuff too. So she likes to be scared. She scares him. So she likes to do that.
Well,
but,
probably some people, it's probably like people that have like a physical adventuresome side. Some people probably have a natural protection. Like your aura might be stronger because you're also you're not afraid really, and you have a passion and interest. And I think that in itself can be a bit of a protection.
Yeah.
I've just personally had, when I was young, I had some bad experiences. So that's why my first paranormal experience was actually very scary. So I probably think a little bit more, but I'm not as afraid as I used to be.
Right.
Like going into David Oman's house or things like that. But maybe it depends on what your experiences are too when you're younger, I think.
Right.
Where I'll start off at different levels. And
and mine's all been good. I haven't had anything, bad happen. Don't think anything's followed me home. For the most part, if they have, they've left me alone because I don't want to be messed with. And it's like, I'm a waitress by day. I mess with the public every day of my life, and they're needy and this and that. So it's like, I focus on that. And then this is totally my hobby on the side. So waitress by day, ghost hunter by night. Yeah.
They kind of go together.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
You're dealing with all kinds of people.
I am.
From different places.
Yes.
Some could be
definitely.
traveling.
They are. A lot of them are traveling, so that's pretty neat. You know what I mean? So we water and feed the weary and the tired travelers. So that's neat, Yeah.
So I did forget to ask about the photography. When you do use your camera inside and like for ghost hunting, do you use the infrared setting?
No.
That was from Elisa had asked on
No,
Instagram.
Lisa, I don't actually. I'm just taking pictures with my phone. I'm taking video. I use Snapchat so that I can put little tiny ghosts in it and stuff. And actually where I caught the ghost in Tuscaloosa, Alabama was through Snapchat. So, and then I put like little ghosts, like little, what are they called? The little ones that you just, you could put in little gifts or whatever they're called. So yeah.
Kind of like the emoji type thing.
Yeah, exactly. I put little emojis in there, make it kind of cute, make it a little campy.
Right.
But no, I don't use any special equipment. I'm just doing this, just going into it.
Well, it can definitely cost a lot, and I mean, if you have the money to spare, great, but you don't need it. I agree.
Well, we like guitars too, so we have another hobby with guitars and all that stuff. So he plays guitar. I'm not very good at it, but I have a couple guitars. So that is another thing that we're into, But this, I'm thinking of getting a spirit box. We've been talking about that, getting one to see. But see, we're using right now, and this says "Be Brave." Right here, we just talked about the spirit box, and right there, that's coming through "Be Brave." So yeah, that's kind of neat. That kind of ties in. So yeah, we'll see, but right now it's just like us going into the places and experiencing it, whatever we're taking from it, type of thing. It's just fun.
Now, have you met anyone, like a friend or someone that you've turned on to this because they've hung out with you and initially they weren't really into it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every guy I've ever dated, anybody, my ex-husband, anybody that I've ever come across with, they get into it with me, definitely. And they like it. I've never dated a guy that has turned me down when I've said, let's go to this haunted house. They probably think I'm weird, but so what, and that's what I do. I'm like, let's go to the haunted house in the city and let's do this. So, I mean, I dragged their dad up to all kinds of places, broken bumpers, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, everybody's been kind of influenced by it. Like, let's go to it. He didn't like it when he was younger. He didn't care for it, but now you got into it more, right? Because he didn't like going to the cemeteries when we were younger.
Did that creep you out?
No, it's just...
They boring?
I don't know what it was. I just didn't like them.
Didn't like them?
He did not like cemeteries when we were younger.
Ah.
No.
Maybe you were picking up something.
Probably, you know.
He did not like Hollywood Forever.
I have always oddly loved cemeteries.
I do,
Even though I'm kind of a chicken around other things,
them.
I love them for some
I love
reason.
them.
And then also some of the headstones have great stories. Like some of them you'll see are this whole story of the person's life and the history element. And then of course some of them are beautiful, like really gorgeous, you know. So I guess we're probably running out of room in cemeteries to bury people, but hopefully we'll keep the ones, that are historic and again, there's something about going to see someone's gravestone that's very touching.
Yeah, and we like going to the celebrity gravestones and going and finding them. And it's like the hunt to find them. It's not easy to find some of these celebrity graves.
Especially Hollywood Forever is huge.
Yeah, and then like other ones that we've gone to, like we went and looked for Lemmy after he passed away from Motorhead, and me and my daughter got scared. I mean, a balloon went off and Dio is right across the way, and we found him, but it took us forever, and we're like creeping around cemeteries looking for these people. So
where was he? What cemetery was
he's
he?
in Forest Lawn,
up
in Hollywood. So he's over there, and there's a couple of them that I've gone to that it's scary just walking around them at time, the mausoleums and stuff, and
sure. Sometimes there's not that many people.
There isn't a lot of people in the cemetery. You're alone most of the time, right, Dylan? I mean, when we go to them, we're alone. We're up there, and so they're peaceful. I like them. Yeah. We were just at one yesterday. We were just at Spadra yesterday.
Where's that?
In Pomona, right off the freeway. So that's a haunted cemetery. We were just there yesterday taking pictures.
Wouldn't they all be haunted?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I would think at some degree that they would all have some kind of thing. And then the living that continuously go and go and go to, the widow and the widowers, or the mother, that they keep going, that there would be something there too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they keep it alive with their connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you been to the Day of the Dead at Hollywood Forever?
I haven't, but I've been to Forest Lawn.
Oh, it's got to be one of the most incredible events in LA. I would say just everyone should go once at least, just for the cultural experience.
Right.
We've gone twice and we've had a great time, and it gives you a different experience of how some cultures celebrate death in a different way. They grieve, but they also have this thing where they're basically connecting with their family, and they're offering them their favorite foods, and then their altars. Incredible altars are amazing. Some people spend months with the decorations.
Oh yeah,
not
definitely.
Even really decorations are sacred, and it's
the favorite foods,
the favorite food,
the marigolds, the pictures, everything that they set up on their altar that is in significance to the person's life, to remember them. Yeah. It isn't always such a sad thing in Mexico. It's a celebration of the dead.
Yeah.
So that's different. I mean, there's cultures I've read online that they dig up their dead and change their clothes.
Oh my goodness, I haven't heard that.
Yes,
wow.
You could look that up. They do that in other cultures. I mean, it's all different. Like when my grandmother died, my grandfather being like in a Jewish background, he said, cover all the mirrors. Remember when we had to do that? Mm-hmm. And we were like, what is going on? You cover all the mirrors. So it's just different. Every type of culture of how they handle the dead and how they go about remembering them. Yeah definitely.
So the one of my Buddhist teacher just died recently. He's 95 and he's a master teacher, and what they do for the masters, they let them sit in samadhi for 3 days, so they don't move the body at all.
Oh wow.
And they were talking about this on one of the Facebook pages, and I guess who's ever monitoring it, there must be one of the things that Tibetan Buddhists are good about is when someone is dying of an illness, they know some of the physiology of what's going on, so they can tell when you're leaving. So I'm wondering, there must be some signs of what's going on with the body to tell where the soul and spirit is, and then they cremate the teacher. But they said he was still kind of in this sort of samadhi and space. And so I've always been glad that I came across the Tibetan Buddhist view of death, because again, it's not so morbid, it's a transition.
I can tell you a funny story about that too. Is back in Nova Scotia, I've come to the conclusion our parents were trying to kill us over the years, because we lived in a little fishing village of 1,800 people in the Bay of Fundy. And there would be a whole bunch of us who'd be like 8 or 10 years old, and we'd take our bikes and we'd pedal all the way down to the lighthouse and play on these cliffs up above the beach with no adult supervision. I'm thinking, what kind of parents do that, So anyway, but on the way back in, we would stop at my Aunt Maggie's place, and she was elderly, and she would always have milk and cookies for us. And again, we were maybe 8 or 10 years old, maybe 12. And so one day we went in to visit, and she was sick in bed, and I went home, and Mom said, how's your Aunt Maggie? And I said, she's dying. And she got all concerned, and she called out. My uncle said, no, the doctor was here. She'll be fine. He said it was just a flu or something. And 3 days later, she passed away. And it wasn't like I was upset. It was just I knew something was missing that was supposed to be there, or something was a little bit different. So when you're talking about the physiology of the soul and so forth, I really do think that's true. I think that there are some signs. And as a child, for whatever reason, I'm not going to say I know what it was, but I just knew something was different.
What was it that came up?
Avery. That was Avery, the ghost of the Pink Palace.
Oh my! That is
Avery came up. We were talking about the Pink Palace. Yeah,
that's a
Michael,
very specific name.
Coins. Wow, coins are very connected with the dead in gravestones. A lot of people put the coins on there.
Oh, right, right. They used to cover the eyes, right? With
yes,
the coin.
they did. I think that in the Western civilization, the way we do our dead is so quick. It's so fast. It's be done with it. Let's stop mourning. Let's go on. Where in other places, I mean, it's like a 30-day thing. And then you hear of old Victorian mourning. The women wore the mourning garb for a whole year to 2 years. They didn't change out of that. Like they were allowed to mourn and be sad and have emotions and feelings about these things.
Right.
And with the Western civilization, it's just so fast. Get over it. Why are you still mourning your parents? Well, because I love them. That's why I'm still mourning my parents. I miss them, talking to them every day. So, yeah, you get that a lot. And the other cultures,
Well, they used to they're getting better now because of hospice. They used to just hide the dead.
Yes.
And that we're not, and there's something really awful about that, whereas for instance, my brother lives in Honduras, and so whenever someone dies, they show the person no matter what, you see the body, and as a little kid you see dead bodies,
right?
Your grandma died, and even though it can be a little shocking at first, it's way more natural than not to.
Exactly.
You gotta. It's part of life.
It is part of life.
So it's getting better because of the influence of all the other cultures. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
The Day of the Dead, the Tibetan Buddhists, the Westerners that see that.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think I know the Irish have the wake.
Yeah.
That they do, but you're right, and it's.
And the Jewish have the Shiva.
The Shiva.
And that's where my grandfather was like, we got to do certain things. We have to mourn. Don't wear makeup for a whole week. Don't look in the mirror for a week.
He would tell me that. In the Shiva.
The mirrors, and then not to basically not put on makeup, not take care of ourselves, to actually feel it, the passing, so that you can get over it. Mm-hmm. It makes you more sad, I think, but I mean, you can feel it. You're not just in bed and, just kind of like, I'm sad and I'm allowed to be, and then you go past that.
So is the mirrors so that you don't see the spirit?
The spirits don't get trapped in the mirrors.
Oh.
Just to jump in for a second, the whole concept of the wake, and of course, I come from a very Celtic background, as you can tell by the way I dress. Mm-hmm. But what that was back in the day was that people used to drink a lot out of the tankards that were made out of pewter. And so they were getting lead poisoning a great deal. And so what would happen is sometimes they would slip into an incredibly deep coma, and then a couple of days later they would literally wake up out of it. So people thought they were dead. So it became a custom to lay them out on a table for a couple of days to see if they were going to wake up, and that's where the term wake comes from. And if they didn't wake up in a couple of days, then they probably were dead. They'd bury them, but that's where the wake tradition comes from.
Wow.
And then the other thing you've heard is the graveyard shift, and it was the same idea, is that
The bells?
there was a tendency, they put a bell on each headstone after they bury the person, because they had a little tendency to occasionally bury people alive. And so if you woke up, you could yank on the cord and ring the bell, and some attendant in the graveyard would hear it, and he'd come running and dig you up. And then after a few days, if the bell didn't go off, then they'd remove the bell, and that was it. But so those terminologies are still a part of our everyday culture now.
Right.
It's true. I never knew that.
Saved by the bell.
Those are great stories. I never knew any of that until you told it, I think, about a month ago. So is there any more that you'd like to share about, your experiences? We're getting closer to the end of the show. Any advice for anyone that wants to get going? We always like to hear what people have to say if you're interested in.
Just do it. Just do it. Look it up. Go look for your local haunted place. Go check it out. Take some pictures. And you're going to it gets addicting. It's like, okay, what's in this city? And like me and Dylan, we're in the thrift store shopping. So I'll be like, what's the Victorian house in this city? It's not just always haunted. It's Victorian homes. It's 1800s homes, right, Dylan? Like it's just history. What is the oldest home in the city? What is still preserved? They are amazing looking. So just do it. Get out there, take pictures. Some of it's scary. I won't go to places alone, which I have gone on tours alone, okay? But I won't go into abandoned places alone, and I definitely will not walk into a cemetery alone. Like, there are some rules to this.
Well, some of that's like normal safety, too.
Exactly.
Especially abandoned place.
Exactly.
You
never know who could be in there. Yeah. And, I mean, if you take a group of people and you're just, like, going to have fun,
Yeah.
A lot of things I do too is if I'm gonna go earlier in the day so I don't get in trouble with trespassing. If a police officer does come across me, I will say I am writing a book. I'm just taking pictures. I'm leaving after this. I'm not here to vandalize. My name is Holly. It has happened, but nothing recently. So back in the day, yeah.
Did they mind? Did they just say, okay, move on?
They didn't say anything. They just left.
Oh.
Yeah. So nothing ever really came about it, but because I was truthful.
Right.
And I was like, hey, my name is Holly. Hey, I'm here. Here's my ID. I'm not causing any problems. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not vandalizing anything. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, pretty much. Just get out there and do it. It's fun. 'Tis the season, right?
Yeah. It's always the season, really, for people that are in the paranormal.
It's every day for me. We're always finding places to go to or things.
It's the public that gets excited, I think, in October, and the paranormal people get inundated by requests.
Yeah.
But they're doing it all year round.
We're doing it all the
time. In the
time.
daytime, too.
Yeah. And I do these things all year round. And once a week, we're looking up something or doing something to do with the paranormal. And I'm writing all the time about my stuff. And then we're just finding more places. Mm-hmm. There's a lot in this book to see. So there's more to see.
I never even saw a book like that. That's really cool. The Haunted. And it's written by Dennis
William Houck. Yes. And it's ghostly abodes, sacred sites, UFO landings, and other supernatural locations. And I've had this since I was a teenager. So, and you can see how old it is, all the places. I mean, I've traveled on Greyhound buses with it just sitting there writing. So, I've been everywhere like that.
That's a story in and of itself, I would say. You must have some travel experiences that are fun.
I've driven across this country close to, 4 or 5 times by myself.
Wow.
And I've even stopped in some haunted places by myself, too, and cafes and hotels and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
You have the spirit of paranormal adventure.
Yes, that's what this is. It's all an adventure. It's life. So just grab it by the horns and go,
Well, and that's a neat way to see it because of the idea that sometimes people separate death from life, that life and death are so dancing together, and this is a way to embrace it.
Yeah. Well, we're all going to die. No one's getting out of this alive. So go and have fun with it. And I've been told, that I live on the other side. I play on the other side a lot. But so what? I like it. It's fun to me. You know, him too. I mean, we're into
Well,
all
you
of
seem
this
really
stuff.
grounded, though. I mean, so you're here in your body doing things, and
Oh yeah.
so it's just your passion, and people should always follow their passions. You never know where
give
they're
up your
gonna
dreams.
they're gonna lead you.
That's right. I'm here with you right now, and
Yeah.
Michael at the Masonic Lodge, talking about my ghost stuff. So yeah, you know, it does come true. Dreams do come true. Just keep on with it. I tell the kids all the time, don't give it up. You know, if I quit when people told me, oh, that's crazy, where would I be now? All these cool places I've gone to and seen and photographed. You know.
Well, that alone, I think, is worth it. You know, even if that was the only reason that you travel, always opens people up.
Yes, it does.
You know, going to other, that's one way to, if I had children, I would definitely want them to travel.
Yeah.
You know,
Get
to get to
out,
know other
do
kinds of
stuff.
people.
Yeah, it's not.
So we are winding down. If you'd like to contact Holly, you can reach her on Instagram at hashtag Holly's Haunts, HOLLYSHAUNTS, and at holly.lindblom, LINDBLOM, right?
Correct.
Those are the two places to reach her. Please check out her photos. They are really cool. I'm really impressed. And thank you for joining us again for another
Thank you.
episode. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thank you for
having
having
you
us.
here. And we look forward to seeing you next time as we continue to explore the esoteric and the obscure. Have a great day.